What is up, boys? How goes it? How goes it?
Good morning.
Yo, what's up? Good morning.
GM. Talk to me, Daddy. How are you today?
The markets are up today. What could this mean?
Coins are green. Things are
All right, so we got big news hot off the press. Breaking news here on Eden. No. Grayscale's SEC lawsuit. They won. What does that mean? All right, I'll tell you what does that mean, right? So they found that it was unlawful in allowing Grayscale to convert GBTC into an ETF, right? And so maybe a little bit of background, right? I'm not super up to date on, but based on my old TradeFi knowledge, I'll give it a little bit of a breakdown. So GBTC holds spot assets. It is a private placement traded product where the redemptions of the underlying assets was either restricted under certain locks. Maybe those are like, in our world, time locks. Or you had to be a certain type of holder to be able to redeem those shares into its underlying assets. And that's why it's been constantly trading to a discount, because you couldn't really arb the difference between the underlying and the actual asset, right? So I don't know, many moons ago, Grayscale requested to turn it into an ETF. SEC denied them, didn't give them much context or guidance into what they needed to do to turn it into an ETF. This is kind of a standard practice of moving into an ETF, which means that it's exchange traded. It's listed on different exchanges. And the most important part of that is the ETF redemption creation process, right? So essentially what a manager of an ETF will do is they usually have different brokers that come in and quote, and based on the volume of of the inflows and outflows of those assets, there is and this is more like the GPTC is pretty simple because all you need is one asset, but with an index, it's a little bit more complex. And so what they do is they'll give you a quote and say, hey, we need to issue 500 new shares of this asset. And so what happens is a broker will come to you and give you that basket. So maybe that basket is made up of 25 different shares. So they'll go out and let's just say it's a 1-to-1 basis, they'll go out and locate all 25 shares in 500 lots. And then what happens is they'll then deliver that to the custodian of the manager. They'll then essentially issue more 500 new ETF units, right, into the market. So it's this kind of, it's the ETF is always going to be tracking what its underlying NAV is. And as it kind of exceeds that, then you can create more. If there's outflows, then you can redeem, right? So you can essentially take units off the market. And so it's almost kind of like a rebasing asset in our world, I guess, but not less Ponzi-like. So they found that it was unlawful to not allow Grayscale to do this. So in terms of timelines, I don't know. It's obviously just coming down the pipe today. A lot of people thought it was going to get rejected. However, essentially it lays a groundwork of, okay, well, they can't stop them from doing this now. Essentially, they have to allow them to convert GBTC into an ETF, which means that they'll probably, all the rest of the ones that are currently pending and being delayed they'll have to approve all of them, because then it will be, they can just file lawsuits against the SEC and say, hey, you did it for this person, why can't you do it for us? We have the same restrictions in place to kind of govern all the different concerns that the SEC may have, mostly around the manipulation of the spot market.
Will this opinion also apply to, what was it, ETH ETF that they have in?
Most likely. Well, Grayscale filed it for all of their assets, I think. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they just did it for GBTC, but I don't think that I don't think we're going to see a Zcash ETF, but because I know that there was like a Grayscale Zcash fund, but I definitely bet we'll see Bitcoin and Ethereum pretty much back to back.
Yeah, buddy.
People have been talking about this GBTC trade for a while now, so looks like that's about to pay off. So good job to everyone that took that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're holding it, I mean, it should pretty much come up to parity. Let's anyone looked at it yet today?
Forgot the ratio calculation for it.
What the current premium is?
Yeah. Let's take a look.
I don't need that shit.
Well, it looks pretty good right now. It is up 16%. Another big winner today, Coinbase. Coinbase is up roughly 16%, trading at 85. No, this isn't a trading stream, but nonetheless.
Yeah.
In the stonk trenches.
Looks like ETH dumped.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see you're going to see domination. BTC domination go up in moves like this, right?
Yeah.
It's dominance chart was kind of screaming that if you were looking at BTCD over the last little bit, it's been looking like it was just getting obliterated.
Yeah, BTC Dom's up 1% today.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, regardless, it's good for the markets. It's good. Breathe some life into things. Since we had a little, I mean, it's been slow since we saw the move down. It has been slow.
Bro, I mean, just look at the type of shit we've been doing on chain.
Yeah,
Like,
dumping ourselves on each other with friend stock.
of how slow it's been. You can compare the types of projects and protocols that people are wasting their time on compared to last season. Like last season, it was I give it to some of the developers, like using new forms of stable coins with interesting types of collateral that I've never been seen before. It was much more invigorating than what we have this time around.
It looks like SharesGram pumped on this news, the Frentech clone. It just went up 60%.
Dude, what can you tell me about this? Can you tell me about this shares? Did they launch with a token already?
So it was a pre-sale that I think a few influencers were in. I think Ansem and Iceberg, I saw them in the chat. It launched pretty high, like a pretty high price for like a meme coin, like 3 million or something after like 10 minutes, 3 million market cap. And I kind of faded it. I only went in like really small when I posted that link. It's up like almost 3x now.
Really?
And everyone like is like validating it. Like Saka started like tweeting about it, like indirectly validating it.
Yeah.
Which is the way he pumps coins, like talking about them indirectly.
I mean, that's not a fair assumption because do you remember when he tweeted last night and then Shares was like, "Oh, he's supporting us," and then he's like, "There's no why you take that as a direct correlation of me supporting this fork or clone is silly." He said that directly.
I'm not like accusing him of anything, but that's just the way he operates with every coin, including the ones that he supports. He like talks about them in a meme way or indirectly. It like validates their existence. That in itself bumps them.
Is it wrong for your intern to have? So use the best way to put it. Is it wrong for you to be in tune with the market? So to always be having little make it bags of on-chain dog shit and then tweet out your feelings about it? Is that wrong?
I don't think it's wrong. I don't mind it. I'm just saying what he did.
You're not pumping it purposefully, like just because you have the bag, right? Like you would probably say what you're saying regardless of you having the bag. You just have a little one because you understand narratives, the way the market works, and you would be shooting yourself in the foot. It's the whole do you want to be right or do you want to make money kind of thing. Like I don't think that anyone actually thinks that like in all of existence and all of history of decentralized finance, the only fork to ever like truly win is Ethereum. So like it's hard for me to look at forks of something and see it as the dominant force or the one that will overtake the original, because that would negate understanding of network effects.
Yeah, I don't take it seriously at all. I just see it as a short-term trade.
So TLDR, I tend to side with Saka's follow-up that like even if he did have some type of financial interest by holding some small amount of this on-chain garbage, and I'm not saying that because of what it is. I'm just referring to like any low liquidity shitcoin we're trading is on-chain garbage. But I don't think that means like he's tweeting about it directly to pump it. Like anything that he tweets about any topic that could relate to a token or some asset, there is a group of people that will say that person is talking about this. That's actually like one of my favorite things about Twitter is that, you can not even subtweet, but just be talking about someone or something that happened and be speaking about it in generalities, so nobody actually knows who or what you're talking about it. But people will assume that you're talking about something that has to do with them or something that happened between you and them, and it's like totally out in left field. You know what I mean? But that part's like one of the fun things about it, that you if you understand that people will think this way, or that people do think this way, then you can use that for your means.
Let's just say most coins, Saka would not mention them with 3 million market cap. So
Yeah, I
say
mean,
whatever.
I've always been opposed to this Bill Ackman style of pushing moves or narratives or whatever in so that you can make profitable trades off of them. I
The
mean, I
problem
get the
is that
power, I get the influence side of things, but I just think it's silly.
the problem is that crypto in general is so liquid that
It doesn't
any
matter. Like Bill Ackman can do it with traditional markets. So, I mean,
yeah, it just means that like
hey,
you
there's
know
people that can do
you
it.
got there would have to be an understanding of like base attention gravity that like one would hold in order to be able to move a market. And then you would have to say, okay, once you've reached this like level of attention gravity, you can no longer tweet about crypto.
I think the way he does it is subtle enough that it's really not that bad compared to some people. I don't actually have any problems with him
Is it because it's not bad because it's more
because he doesn't literally
effective and
just say the
manipulative,
ticker.
or
He doesn't like say the ticker and let's go to the moon and then dumps the top on you. He like kind of hints at it for a few tweets until he
yeah,
like
but I
cooks
think
it up.
I think his approach is more effective to people that are allergic to blatant shilling.
Yeah,
We're
yeah. I
getting off
guess
topic now.
he targets a different audience. Yeah, that's true.
But I just think that if he did anything, why I know he did that roll bit thing. But anyways, we're talking too much about individuals. All right. So we'll see what happens and develops today. I'm sure we'll come back to it tomorrow, but who knows? We were just discussing yesterday that September's probably going to be a down month, and then like hopefully that's the beginning of like the next bull per se. But maybe it comes a little bit sooner. I was expecting maybe closer to October, maybe even Q1. But I don't know. I don't know how any of the stats too for like happening events. Like how much time before or after a happening event does the market actually start to move? Who knows? It's something that we should look into maybe for tomorrow. All right. Nonetheless, into more other SEC news. Impact Theory yesterday was essentially ordered to. I think they agreed to it actually, but to do full disgorgement. You guys familiar with Impact Theory?
Sounds super familiar.
It's a podcast. It's a podcast that's super popular. I find myself like when I turn YouTube on and I like take a nap, when I wake up, it's like playing.
Who are the hosts?
It's one of those. But he's got a lot. He's been doing a decent amount of stuff in the crypto space. He's had like the Real Vision guy Raul on sometimes. But he did an NFT sale in 2020, maybe 2021, and he raised like 30 million. But he put direct, like in the actual sale, the terminology was pretty securities offering like, because he was like, we're going to build the next Disney. And if you get a founder's key, then you'll be an owner of the next Disney. So
Be funny if he did.
he definitely didn't have his lawyers look over that. That's for sure.
Rides. Look who's laughing now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know too much about him, but I think that's one of the reasons why we wanted to start doing this. Like, I've always seen an issue with these kind of Web 2 grifters who find their way over to crypto, or see a season going on amongst their other YouTube, friends, their other grifters in the space. And then they make their way over to crypto, and they find some way to drag in millions of people into some.
They're monetizing their community, but then it usually ends up bad, and then all those people are, have resentment towards crypto. It's overall bad for the market.
Yep. Time and time again, though. Like I remember when I first started looking on YouTube for stuff, it was just like news type shows that I would see, and then there were a few guys doing podcasts, and then scams. Like it was just people making videos of like high yield interest programs and fucking like crypto forex scams, and just tons of fucking videos of showing people how to deposit their money into these scam sites. It's like 10 seconds on the site, and you'd know that it was an absolute like scam. But surprises me every day how many people deposit money into those.
Yeah, I agree. It's very short-lived and it's bad for the market. Makes people like very pessimistic about crypto.
Yeah, it's like if that's your entry point, is you're like, okay, there's this person that provides me entertainment, and then they're trying to monetize their community, and they're like, I'll try this crypto thing because he's doing it, and then it's just like a complete flop.
In 2021, so many like quote unquote normies were asking me about NFTs, and they all knew OpenSea. Like that was a good point to onboard people, but then they all got burned with like scams, like the Logan Paul stuff and whatever.
Yeah, I mean the Gary Vaynerchuk was the first one to actually make the move, and it was like mostly crypto natives that saw like Web2 people coming into the space to do it, and so like I loaded up on a bunch of VFriends, and sold way too early, like always. But
at least
it's like you get one like a Gary Vaynerchuk. First one comes in, everyone that buys you can make like 8x on their money, right? And then every subsequent release is kind of a flop, and then you got all the different copycats coming after the fact that it's a flop. But the survivorship bias of the first one being like so successful and everyone making money, then brings in this like large wake of capital. So we just got to make sure that we're watching out for that wake, because that's when the money's coming. But
the thing is, I think that they have like well, I mean, I know that they do. All of the like really quote unquote high value YouTubers, they all talk to one another. I'm trying to think if it was
Flamingo,
Mr. Beast, or someone else, but
they're all in Flamingo DAO. There's like a few of them now, but they all have like large, like they pool their investments together.
Yeah, he talked about it when he was discussing buying Punk. How like Gary called them just like for
It's a noise.
Denton.
Sorry about that.
Just mute yourself in a second because there's a lot of background noise there. Yeah, he was talking about how they all got on a call, and he was telling them like just to buy, punks now. So they were one of the waves of the punk sweeps that happened. So there had to have been like some type of discussion over this meta of selling NFTs, and a bunch of them, got in and started their own NFT project, because you just saw like a flood of these YouTube content creators coming out with whether an NFT or they were associating themselves with an NFT project. There was definitely some meta that they understood within their world of promoting that kind of shit to make quick money.
It was yeah, it's because they all had the same dev, dude. Remember Barney the boy was the dev in all of them.
That was the best meme.
All right, let's move on. And then I think this is the last piece we have on like regulation, but I know that a few U.S. regulators are going after the Fed, their regulatory guidelines. So I think we briefly touched on this one time last week, but the guidance on that if you're a bank and you need to get pre-approval to kind of operate in the crypto space, and that kind of regulatory oversight that the Fed has over all of the different banks has caused a lot of friction for large banking institutions to enter the space, because they can't. They need essentially a blessing from the Fed before they can enter it. And so I know that the U.S. government, like, obviously, Patrick Mahenry was leading the charge here, but expressing, that you need to make these changes because they're kind of undermining the progress that we're trying to do in Congress right now. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. Stable coins. But it's
What are your thoughts on stable coins generally, since you spend a lot more time in kind of the legal regulatory arena? Do you feel like the government is going to allow in the future the current existing decentralized stablecoins to still live alongside the CBDCs that it seems that all the nation states are either in research phase of or in audit stages of? How do you view kind of the future life of what we use as our dollar-based currency assets?
That's a good question. I definitely see like the USDC staying around for sure.
Yeah,
USDC is like the golden boy.
Stuff
you
like
know?
that is more like, I think USDT, USDC are both staying around, but more thinking along the terms of like
Corpo coins.
even DAI, like DAI, Frax, some
Well,
of the
I think DAI is technically considered is it considered an algorithmic? I forget the different classifications. Binance actually released a report today on stablecoins.
I don't think it is. It's just collateralized.
Okay, so it's not considered that. So I know that like that's obviously one of Rune's like endgame. He sees regulation coming. He's trying to force out all of this stuff to properly decentralize Maker, so that there is no central party that can shut DAI down. And that's what like endgame is all about, is decentralizing like MakerDAO even more than it currently is, which is not really that decentralized. He says that, but then also now he owns like what 15% of the supply when he sold all his Lido to buy to buy all that Maker. But yeah, I mean, I definitely see that there's going to be the collateralized side of things is definitely going to be the future, whether it's real world assets, whether it's Bitcoin or like native cryptos. Algorithmic is definitely going to see an uphill battle, because in the under collateralized algorithmic world, like the US dollar is the only one that really wants to live in that, to own that, right? And so
in my opinion, the utility of like a stable coin is so good that there will always be something, and they could make an algorithmic one that is not necessarily stable to the dollar, but something else. Kind of like what Ohm tried to do.
I mean, this is kind of off topic, but I mean, we've done specs for a stable coin similar to what Arthur had put out last year about Satoshi coin or whatever it was. Yeah, the essentially backed by native crypto, and then also hedging the risk with either options or perps or some sort of derivative product.
backed by good faith and cozy.
Because I mean, well, it's like you can hedge the maintaining peg. So I mean, it makes sense to me, and then you can actually get to some sort of under collateralized, however, still hedged stablecoin. But we'll see. We'll see how that. I know that they just funded. I know Mouse Storm, his family office invested in Ethera, something like this. that's looking to do just that. We'll see. I mean, definitely stablecoins is like the number one use case for like PMF for crypto. All right, the transactions are faster than traditional banking.
I'm excited for the era.
It's just so much easier to use. Like,
and permissionless, you can just send the money without anyone bothering you.
Yeah, and I think that in the user experience, like Shopify has done a lot in the user experience of paying for something, right? So Shopify and the Shopify plugins of like, I just go to a site and I put in my cart and I hit checkout, and like it already recognizes the cookie on my device, and so it pre-fills like everything. And I just hit buy. It, is an interesting take. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Amazon one-click checkout is something that they had I think for like 7 years or maybe longer. They had the like patent on the flow of a one-click checkout, and so like that helping them get like critical mass. But now you obviously see that in different areas. But like that flow is pretty much similar to stablecoins now. So like if you have stablecoins in your wallet and you go to like pay with crypto, and it prompts a wallet transaction, and you just hit send. It's just as quick. Getting your money into a wallet a little more difficult. I mean, I'd still argue on
Talking to
that.
a guy who regularly in line will get my total and then buy a gift card on Bitrefill to pay while I'm there. So cumbersome, payments. I'm very familiar with. Having one-click stuff is a dream for crypto.
Yeah, maybe we'll do this. I've been preparing like what I envision like onboarding to look like in the near future. Maybe we'll do like we'll bring someone on that knows more than me. We can take them through that, because I definitely see like it's going to be a few steps, but with the integrations to Venmo and Cash App and Revolut and PayPal, like you can make a pretty quick onboarding experience. You go from something like a Venmo to Magic Link, and then you have like a Magic Link's not MPC, but you have something like where your Google account manages the wallet, and then you just have your Gmail account that is also tied to a wallet. And so from like regular everyday spending, you just put $1,000 in it and it's good to go. When you start integrating that with credit, like that's going to change the game. And a lot of the create to functionalities of like the safe now and account abstraction and intents, like you can have like a 3-click workflow where it's like deposit in Venmo, spin up an EOA, spin out 4 different safes on Base, Optimism, Arbitrum, and Mainnet, and then now that you have stuff in a smart wallet, in a smart contract wallet, then the world's your oyster when it comes to account abstraction and intents. So
Requests?
like a Venmo request?
Yeah, sure. Like a Venmo request where you're saying how much you want, but you don't code where it comes from.
I don't get it.
Just making fun.
All right. Moving
But
on.
then,
Go ahead.
but then, like, what do you think would the incentive be for people that aren't already inside of crypto? They don't already have crypto stables. Ideally, for onboarding.
What do I think?
Yeah.
What?
Oh yeah. So like, in terms of like using that over a credit card, or using that over like, because like credit card loyalty rewards is a big mover of why people use credit cards, and then obviously the fact that you pay it back later. So like just the functionality of credit obviously drives a lot of the market, the consumer market. So yeah, we're gonna need that, but then also I've actually gone back and forth with Carbon on this, of like, what is the event that moves people into the space that don't have any other reason to enter it? and the only thing that I see is CBDC, and you get like your tax return in a CBDC, or you get your welfare in a CBDC, or something like that. Whereas like
or it's like easy to get yield on the same app you use for payments. Like you can put the money in something and then take it out. I don't know.
DK, as someone who has more of a traditional finance background and made the full move over to crypto more recently than myself, do you what would be a reason that you would think like regular everyday people would opt to use already existing stablecoins versus that CBDC?
they wouldn't.
Only if they get paid to use it, like if the rates are better and if they get some points for it. Like
Okay,
they
so
could only be incentivized monetarily, I think.
yeah,
I don't really see a reason.
well, the monetary thing, why I asked is because what I was thinking is like monetarily, when you start going down like the line of thinking that the conversation kind of started with, the only incentive is like interest, right? Like essentially cash back or cash earned. But with something like USDC, like you need the collateral to get the interest. With the CBDC, they can offer you, a credit card essentially, or a digital credit account where you have a loan that you can take out from them. I don't really see because the government, like, they don't care they already know who the lender is. It's not this decentralized market that we have now where you need the collateral up front because you don't want to trust it. You're not going to trust random people who are putting up offers. So like, do you really see our pre-existing stablecoins still living on in the future if the masses are going to use this natively issued government stablecoin?
I mean, it's a good point.
Like I would out of principle and because I'm crypto native, so like, it would be more cumbersome for me to get the CBDC and then do something with it than it is for me to just swap to USDC. Or it's the same, so for me it'd be why would I use FedCoin versus, pseudo FedCoin?
Yeah, I mean, if FedCoin's accepted as payment, then yeah, why would you move it to USDC?
If Circle makes an app that rewards you for using it, like let's say they have a point system that you get for using it, or even if they make like a coin that they airdrop for use, like only in that way.
Instead of collecting all of the interest that they get, they return it to users.
Yeah, only in that way do I see it being adopted by regular people if they're incentivized.
The issue is
they're gonna have to be yielding. They're gonna have to be yielding stablecoins.
They can't, like, Circle can't eat the losses that regular institution could eat, and
I mean, like USDT like made like 800 million last quarter. 800 million in interest.
yeah, off their treasuries.
When Circle blacklists a hacker's wallet, they don't actually return the stolen USDC, do they? It's
I don't
like
know
a
about
burn.
that.
No, it's frozen.
So that's
I'm sure that they have to eventually have to. We talked about this yesterday, actually, Denton. I think that they would eventually have to give it to authorities. So either it goes to unclaimed, or it goes to investigative body. They can't. It's not like they can just pocket it and say it's revenue.
Mm-hmm.
They gotta forfeit it.
A burn.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the state ultimately will get it, whether it's through like a police force or unclaimed or something like that. The state will ultimately end up with it.
I was also wondering, how did you guys feel back in April when USDC depegged temporarily to like 85 cents, like for real.
I was buying it.
Yeah.
I thought that was the stupidest trade that anyone ever made.
Yeah.
I was buying it. I was buying so much of it.
Yeah, anyone that knows me knows that when Tether depegged USDC this time around, like those are the freest money trades in my opinion, and I've longed or bought every time that I could.
Yeah, I had PTSD from UST, but I still bought USDC when it depegged because
This
I
last
mean,
one with USDC was fun because there were a lot of protocols that weren't prepared for something like this to happen. So there were
yeah,
a lot of arbitrage opportunities that presented themselves, and a lot of
Dude, Y2K was paying out lottery tickets.
yeah,
it's so funny. It was on a Saturday, so they just literally were not at work.
Well, I mean, they did a poor job of communicating, that's for sure. But I'm sure that they also had. I mean, we did a whole like Twitter thread on this. On like they clearly had to like get everything passed through lawyers, and yeah, you're right, it was like a Saturday, so it was like a Friday night going into a Saturday, so it was like you're not going to get lawyers to sign off on your communications, and so like you're kind of in this deadlock. People were panicking, but I'm like, if you do the math, then it was like, I don't know, 97% that you get your money back. It's like the worst case scenario
Yeah,
is
it was crazy. It went way more than I expected it to.
yeah.
Yeah, I put out some tweets on the numbers back then. I'm pretty sure it was 97 cents or something on the dollar. Like
even if they never got the money back,
yeah, it was
because the FDIC said that they'd give at least this much back, right? So, anyways, all right, let's move on. We got 15 minutes left today.
financial
all right.
advice. If we all get wrecked in the future from that trade, I didn't tell you to do it.
Yeah, not financial advice. All right. You guys mess around with Shiba at all? Shiba Inu?
Like Shibarium.
Yeah, Shibarium, the Bone, like all
A
that
while
shit.
back, but not the recent stuff. Like I just saw that the bridge, like they lost
Oh, yeah,
like
that was so
thousands of
funny.
ETH. Yeah.
He's like, oh shit, all that money lost.
So many people were speculating based on like Shibarium launching, like speculating that it's gonna be like the final pump, or that it's gonna be the start of the bull run, or the end of this temporary like. And then it just gets wrecked. Like they just burn thousands of ETH.
I remember they're like reporting on the block numbers, and the block numbers were going like backwards.
Yeah,
like, this is not supposed to happen.
I had to like look twice. I was like, "What the fuck is going on here? Did someone
It's
is
so
like
crazy.
shot wrong, or like what the
Like they made billions of dollars and they didn't have the budget to develop an EVM clone.
fuck?"
Hey man,
They could have just forked Doge Chain.
no one wants that. That's so 2015.
That's the point. Like they could have no. When Doge had an L2 that
Oh yes, I know what you're talking about. Froggy
Even
wanted
EOS,
us to launch there.
Yep.
How did that go?
even EOS had an EVM called Telos. Everyone had an EVM.
It's Oprah.
Like all the coins from 2018, they had EVMs going in like the top of the bull run.
Yeah, I
But-
mean that was Harmony too. Like I remember when Harmony was. I'm trying to think what they were before that, but I don't know. Yeah, but I remember when I started hearing about them again, I was like, "What the hell?" And Kronos Chain is another one, and then I feel like V Chain did some EVM type shit too.
I was using the really obscure ones back then.
What V Chain?
No, like the obscure EVMs. Like there was a list of like 50 of them on those bridging websites.
Yeah, I didn't.
you get into the dirty stuff. I don't even know the stuff that you get into, man. I don't even know where you
Dude,
find it. Your back
and
channel.
it's like
You
it's
don't
so
find it.
small that the one shitcoin that there is on the chain has all the liquidity, and it's so easy. Like you're up against like 100 people, and that's it. Like nobody there besides that.
I was in the arena. Where were you, DK? We were trying things. Some things
I,
worked,
ret-
some things
I
didn't.
retired from the arena in 2021. But no, the reason I bring up Shiba Inu is that since they relaunched, over 100,000 wallets have been made on their EVM. The last 24 hours, over 35,000. And now BitMEX is launching perps on Shiba USDT and Bone USD.
They would.
So with numbers like that, how do you know when to trust it and when not to? Because like
I don't think those are,
AVAX and Phantom always show they have like infinite millions of transactions, but like it doesn't.
Yeah, same with
Like,
well, and
I
we
don't
all
know
know
how
how
to
Binance,
trust
the
it.
Binance bot.
Yeah, how do you trust that? Like, what's
Yeah,
real?
you don't. I think it's probably like the same organization that was running the BNB bots. And remember when they were running the bots and like they would jack up the fees on Ethereum mainnet and just so they could showcase that like BNB's fees
Oh
were so
yeah,
much lower.
dude.
And like it showed that like all of the transactions were coming from Binance, and they're like, oh, it's just wallet withdrawals and deposits. They're like, is it really
That's
though?
so funny.
Is it really though?
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Binance, Binance is turning on options.
I saw.
BNB T+3 only for BNB though, but
Interesting.
it is interesting. It is very interesting. I mean, it's a tall tale sign of a market's maturing, right? Like
Some things are better left unsaid. No more news like these.
yeah, I mean, well, maybe they're just playing around with BNB first, and they're gonna roll it out to others. Binance is the only real contender that could like take on the Deribit, right? I don't understand is like Deribit hasn't done shit in like years. I feel like there's like 30 people that work there. Like they have a pretty small team. I think when I looked on LinkedIn, it was like it's like so small. The size of the team is so small. Even if it was like 1/5, so what, 150 people for how much money they make? It's crazy to me. I feel like they haven't done any innovate. They did the spot market exchange with no fees. That's the only thing they've launched like in 2 or 3 years.
Do you think it's complacency due to their dominance, or do you think that it is because
Well, they're definitely legal. They're doing a major legal entity restructuring and they're moving to Dubai. So like I can understand that that's going to take a lot of lift.
the
right?
other thing I was thinking was like TradFi products, and yeah, it's a crypto product, but like I'll argue with anyone about this. Like Deribit it's not a like quote unquote crypto product. But like they're super rigid, not Deribit, but like traditional finance products. You don't really see updates, changes, new features pushed out. It's like a product built and then
I disagree with that.
for a long time. You think so? Otherwise?
Yeah, I do disagree with that. I worked at one for 10 years and like maybe I'm biased, but we pushed out a lot of stuff. We tried out a lot of new markets. Like I understand that like the ability for a small team to spin up a legal entity and then just start providing a service and is 25x times faster than a big entity, right? And this is like this is the reason that you saw companies like Uber like spin up as its own end. Like Google couldn't challenge Uber because Uber was operating in these markets where it's like a gray area, right? But if Google were to do it, like they have all of this weight behind them. So it's just a massive cruise ship they got to move. right? And so in traditional finance, similar, but you got a ton of money you can throw at it at the same time. So like, yeah, I think that some things some products get delivered, maybe are not under the official main flag, but there's, I think, a lot added, especially, and then you see like a lot on the user interface side of things now, like just like Chase Bank, right? So like it's one of the banks that we use. It's like they're constantly rolling out new features on Chase Bank. Goldman
I was going to use
constantly has been
Chase
investing
as
in.
an example of not. So
Huh?
I was going to use Chase as the example of like how they don't. So maybe like we view it differently because of me kind of being used to like startup development style sprints and 2-week like feature updates versus something like Chase, where I feel like the only thing that's changed over the last 5 years is some color schemes and the rounding of the UI, like buttons and cards. You know, like there's nothing new my Chase app does for me. There's nothing new the Chase offers me. It still has the same
Maybe if you're just using consumer banking front, like you're not doing anything fancy, right? You got business accounts. If you have multiple legal entities and multiple business accounts, if you're doing like wires a lot, if you're doing investing through Chase, depending on what your deposits are, if you're like Chase private, like there's like all these different things that like I constantly see like different updates and ease of use, and like just like having a one sign in where you can look at 30 different bank accounts and 5 different credit cards, 30 different bank accounts across 5 different legal entities. Like where else are you gonna like? I don't think any other bank really comes close to that, but like that didn't exist 10 years ago.
I only use Chase as like as my bank, and then yeah, I mean it's great. I can load my credit cards into the Chase UI and see all of my personal and business accounts and savings accounts and my liability across like debt and things like that. Like, but I don't know, being able to view something, I guess, that doesn't like shout out to me. Maybe because we've been like popping addresses and UIs for the last 6-7 years, and recreating wallets to view them. But like there's no new feature, like where it still is like me wiring money. It's still a cumbersome process. Like they haven't done anything to make wire transfers easier. That's one of the arguments, and I think like use cases for crypto is that sending money to someone anywhere is much less cumbersome and cheaper
Yeah,
wiring.
for me with international transfers, it's just insane. Like the bank required me to fill up a whole form, a ton of details, just to transfer like $2,000, like almost nothing. And I could just do that instantly with crypto, and not think about it. It's
Yeah,
just
I will say
crazy.
international banking is like pretty difficult. So I mean, I've been in this. I do a lot of banking for multiple legal entities, so I guess when I comparative to others, like Chase is pretty fluid. Like they still charge a bunch of fees, but as being
Yeah, I could be blind to it because I've been a loyal Chase user for quite some time. It's like Chase and Amex are pretty much like the main 2 institutions I use.
yeah, but yeah, I hear you on the international side of things. When I lived in Europe, to pay my rent, because I got paid in US dollars, but I lived in Europe, I would get paid US dollars. I would then in a US bank, I would then need to wire that to a local European bank. I would then go to the European bank and I would withdraw large sums of cash. I would then take those large sums of cash in US dollars to an FX guy that would give me like a really good rate. he was my boy. He's like one of those FX places where like it has a magnetic lock on the door, it buzzes you in, and magnetic locks behind you, and it's like it's like in the back room of a shop with like a guy with like an accounting visor on and like money counting machines and one of those just digital displays in the background of the FX. Anyways, and then he'd give me these like bricks of local currency, and then I'd be doing these with like, I don't know, low 5 figures. I would say like, let's say like 10 grand, once every other month. And then I would have like 10 grand of this local currency in like, this, kind of a developing nation. Then I have to go back to the original bank, the local bank, and then deposit that cash and back to my bank account. And that's how I paid my rent. And then I had to do a separate transfer to move the cash. So like, yeah, that was a pain in the ass.
I feel crazy. I feel crazy when people tell me crypto doesn't solve anything, when it's just like this basic thing. It already solved it.
Yeah, international, I completely agree. Like crypto is so much easier. But like the amount of automation that I have with a US bank account is unparalleled. Like rent gets paid, like commercial rent gets paid,
Yeah, I do.
Mortgage gets paid, like they, if I overdraw my credit card, like they don't stop it and they don't charge me anything. It's just like your max credit is like it's more of like a guideline than any sort of hard stop.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, I will give them that. Like, and automation for sure. They have that over. Like,
They also treat you better if you bring a decent amount of cash.
well, that's something I've brought up to people like time and time again, that there's, and I think one of the reasons is that like this is still a developing industry and we're still building products that are trying to find product market fit and kind of each facet of financial tooling. But there's not enough focus on like basic support for individual applications and onboarding to networks and things like that when you compare it to traditional in real life services or web 2 services. And I talk about Amex and Chase all the time, that they, when you have a private business account, or you're of a higher tier like Amex cardholder, like they really understand like white glove support, and they'll they'll sometimes call you to like just check on you. I had like the private banker one time call me just to like ask me some questions that had nothing to do with like my bank stuff, and I was like, that she's like, yeah, I was just just wanted to call and check up to see how blah 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 was. And some people may find that odd, but other people, like they understand that people want a person to person connection when they're trusting someone with their money, which is kind of the use case for crypto again, right? Like that you don't want to trust anyone with your money. You shouldn't have to trust anyone. You only have to trust yourself.
Fair. All right, we're at time. I will save the next item for tomorrow because I do want to do some governance in the crypto spotlights, but we'll save that for tomorrow. Appreciate you coming on, Denton. Love to have you again.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Traveling, but maybe next week.
Yeah, next week for sure.
Awesome. All right, guys. Bitcoin ETF.
Discord.
Soon, TM. Hopefully.
Yeah, very soon.
Hey, what? Bye, everybody.
DK loves.
Bye-bye.